It's no secret that Iceland is an incredible country. Over the last decade, the number of annual visitors has climbed to 2 million people. But in an already spectacular place, there is one destination that stands out. This 34-mile journey across the Icelandic highlands truly has it all. Rivers, mountains, lakes, forests, hot springs, snowfields, sheep, and lava beds. In short, you do not want to miss the Laugavegur. The trek from the colorful mountains of Landmannalaugar to the lush forests of Thorsmork is not always easy.
I woke up feeling pretty crappy.
But if you do it, it will be the journey of a lifetime.
Our trip to the highlands began on a bus. As we left Hella, it was easy to think that the farms of southern Iceland looked like the farms of anywhere else. But once we turned onto the F roads, the landscape made a dramatic shift. The bus crossed one final river, and then we reached Landmannalaugar, the people's pools.
We have just started walking on the Laugavegur. This is Iceland's most famous distance trail. We started this morning by taking a bus from Hella to Landmannalaugar, and now we're walking about 12 kilometers to the first hut, Hrafnanuskur.
Our first day of hiking would be 7 miles from Landmannalaugar up to Hrafnanuskur. Despite not being particularly far, we had a lot of climbing to do to reach our evening's destination.
We're now about 2 miles into the hike. The scenery here in Landmannalaugar is unlike anything I have ever seen before. There is just so many colors in the mountains. I don't know for sure yet, but I have to assume right now that the different colors are just various different oxidized metals. I will confirm and let you know.
The mountains of Landmannalaugar are rhyolite, and the colors indeed come from high mineral content of elements like iron and silica. Even more fascinating though, the entire area sits in a giant caldera of an ancient volcano. Thousands of years ago, the volcanic chamber suddenly emptied and the peak collapsed in on itself. Don't let the collapse fool you though, the area is still considered active.
We've now mostly left the geothermal area. I guess the last 3 kilometers is over a giant snowfield. It means we're walking a little bit slower, but we should be almost at the first hut.
The snowfield surrounding the Hrafnanuskur hut lasts long into the summer. A memorial to an Israeli hiker who died of hypothermia is a grim reminder that you have to be prepared for any kind of weather when you're trekking in Iceland.
We're just pulling up on the Hrafnanuskur hut. It looks really cute, but I am definitely surprised to see cars here.
Our second day of hiking was another 7-mile walk to the Alptivatn hut. Fortunately, today's walk will be primarily downhill. The first few kilometers continued over the snowfield, and we got to see some of the snow caves the area is famous for.
Second day on the Laugavegur. Today is another short day. We have, again, about 6-7 miles to walk Unfortunately, today is mostly downhill. Right when we left the hut, I had a bit of a battery malfunction with the GoPro, aka I must have accidentally left it on all night because the battery was dead this morning. The first like mile or two past the hut was all snow covered, still very geothermal. Like you can definitely tell this whole area is still very volcanic and very active. But since everything was covered in snow, it really felt just like a big snow traverse, but it was really fun. We have now crested a ridge, and so we can see the green valley down below. It looks really beautiful, so I'm really excited to get there. Oh my gosh, look at that lake.
Well, that's probably where we're going.
The lake we could see was Laugavegur, our destination for the evening. Being able to see down to the valley below meant that we had hit the edge of the caldera. Even though we could see the lake, that didn't mean we didn't still have a long walk ahead of us, including our first river crossing of the Laugavegur.
We've traveled down from the snowy section and now it is totally mossy and lush and green. Still definitely looks volcanic, but in a different way than previously. So before there was just like steam and sulfur everywhere. Now it's just like all these mountains look like cinder cones. We can see the cabin now that we're going to. It is right on this big blue lake.
Laugavegur roughly translates to Swan Lake. The area is home to many types of ducks and swans, and it used to be a popular area for hunting. Back in the 1800s, a farmer took his daughter to hunt swans and drowned, and the area has been closed to hunting ever since. Our final day would be our longest. We had 19 miles left on the Laugavegur, so an early start was paramount.
Good morning. So we left the Laugavegur hut around 7:30 this morning. Yesterday's whole experience by the lake was so nice. It was so picturesque. It's like one of those places that you can't believe it's real. Unfortunately, this morning I woke up feeling pretty crappy. And today we have about 20 miles to walk to get to Thorsmork. Right now the walking is pretty easy and we should be doing like a net decrease in elevation. So hopefully it's not too bad. But I definitely wish I was feeling a little bit better for this long walk.
3 kilometers into our hike, we arrived at Havangil. It was originally built as an outpost for farmers to gather their sheep in the autumn. Today, there's a hut for Highland travelers, but due to its proximity to Laugavegur, it's not as popular for Laugavegur trekkers.
We just crossed a pretty big river and now we're walking across this massive black lava field. It's definitely like not as exciting as some of the previous landscapes, but it's so amazing just how fast everything changes on this trail. And luckily, since it's so flat, we should be able to make some of these miles pretty quickly right now.
After a river crossing, the trail continues across the Mælifellsandur, a giant black sand desert interrupted only by volcanic peaks. The entire area was once concealed under the Murdisjökull glacier, but it was revealed when the ice retreated after the last ice age.
We got to the Emstor hut just before noon. We aren't stopping there. We're actually gonna keep going all the way to Thorsmork today. But we did stay there, have a sandwich, have some lunch, and just relax for a bit. This next section is supposed to be the highlight of the whole Laugavegur. So I'm just really excited to see what the trail has in store for us.
Immediately past the Emstor hut, we started descending down to the Emstor River. From here, you get to finally see the columnar basalt and the Unicorn Mountain. Much of the remaining trail follows the Markerflout Canyon, an incredibly striking gorge that only the adventurous few who travel through the highlands get to see. Supposedly, the canyon was formed in a single flood event when Katla erupted 2,000 years ago.
About 3 kilometers from Thorsmork, there is one last river crossing. We just got so lucky. There were these trucks that were transporting sheep. While we were looking for the place to cross the river, they came back, told us to get into their like tractor trailer thing, and drove us across the river.
And finally, we arrived in our destination, Thorsmork, or Thor's Forest. The area is something of an oasis from the bitter cold of the rest of the highlands, since the valley is protected by 3 glaciers. It's also one of the most notable remaining forests in all of Iceland.
Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in doing the Laugavegur, I'll make sure to link a guide down in the description below so that you can do it yourself. If you're interested in maybe a little more off the beaten track alternative, then I encourage you to watch my Hornstrandir video. And if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. See you next time.